Welcome back to the BraveCo podcast, men. Hey, before we get started, I want to ask you one quick question. Do you have a really clear plan to build a strong, capable, powerful leader that God's called you to be? If you don't, we have the course for you. It's our BraveCo Foundations of Masculinity and our Sexuality and Relationship course. These are free courses that we've created that you can literally go and sign up today. The best part of these is you get access to our community, right? So you can go, and if you want to run with other men who are crushing it in life, there's tons of guys there that you can jump into a course with, or we even have conferences and events that we do all year long that you can check out. But listen, I want you to go back and think about this. If you don't have a clear plan, if you don't have other guys that you're running with, if you don't have a clear pathway to how do I grow myself as a man? How do I step into my calling? What is my code, my ethos? What does it mean? How do I set healthy boundaries? How do I show up for my wife? How do I do emotion-based communication that creates deep connection in my family, in my marriage? Guys, we lay it out so simply for you. And honestly, I've seen so many men go through this and get complete healing on the other side. So we want to give that to you for free. You can go to braveco.org and sign up today. Men, you are made for more. You know it, you feel it, you've been called to war, to take responsibility, to fight for what matters. You're not just here to survive. You've got ground to take and a choice to make. Will you shrink back or rise up? Jesus knew his crown led him to a cross, and that's real leadership. That's real strength. A real king doesn't live for himself. He lays down his life. That is your higher calling. God is calling you forward. Encounter God. Become the strong leader your family and your future need. Men, this is your moment. Take ground, live as bold as a lion, and lead like a king. Welcome back to the BraveCo podcast, everyone. This week, I have a great friend of mine, David Norona, on the podcast. You guys have probably seen him before, maybe playing some Greek god in a video, a movie. Could have been on Broadway, naked. That's actually true. He's told that story before here on the BraveCo podcast. So if you missed that beautiful piece of David's history, go back and watch that in the BraveCo podcast, and you'll see. I can't remember what episode it was, but David's such a great man. He also helps to run the BraveCo podcast, produce the BraveCo podcast. So, David, I'm stoked to have you on here. Thanks so much, man.
Oh, it's great to be back, brother. Yeah, I'm one of those products as seen on TV.
Are you, what's the last TV show that you did?
I think it was Grey's Anatomy. And honestly, it was like, I mean, other than taking a road trip with my son late at night to make it to set the following morning, because I found out the evening before I shot it, and watching my son gorge himself on Hollywood food, because that was like the most exciting. He wasn't
amazing.
Yeah, he wasn't excited about being on set with me. He's like, they just kept giving me food. So yeah, it was fun, but I think it was Grey's Anatomy.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, David, you're such a beast.
Thanks, brother.
Every single week, we get questions asked to us in one form or another. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the fun things that we like to do that feels really important is to answer people's questions and to shed more light on the topic of manhood, masculinity, how to be a great man, how to lead your family well, how to win in business, all that type of stuff. Yep. And so, I'm just stoked to have you on here. We can bounce some questions, some ideas off of one another. And you just have so much experience. You've been a pastor in our environment for a really long time. You've been a businessman, leader. You're leading a family as well. Plus, lots of employees and things like that. So it's great to have you on.
Likewise, brother. And I think the ones that you've picked from, the hundreds that come through every week are deep tissue, brother. So do you want to?
Yeah, I'll throw the first one your way.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
And we can just go back and forth. And how does fatherhood change a man? How does it not change a man?
I was going to say completely. How about you? No, utterly. I always think about Francis Chan has the title of the book called Crazy Love.
Yeah.
And it's about God.
Yeah.
But I often say that being a dad is like having one of your organs or multiple organs living outside of your body.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's both. It's beautiful. It's profound. It also sometimes comes with pain and lack of sleep and a lot of work.
It's true.
But I can't think of another or a better way for God to teach you to love than to literally take a piece of your heart
Yeah.
and have it live outside of you with free will of its own.
So true.
So for me, completely, brother. How about you? Because you've made a couple babies.
Well, no, I mean, I was just making a note on my phone here. If fatherhood doesn't change you dramatically, something's wrong.
Oh, that's good.
Because we often think about like, oh, I'm gonna, it's, it changed me so much, and I'm like, no, it should. Anything that you bring into the world that didn't have a say coming in, like we don't often think about that. Like I didn't go, oh, I want to be born, put me in the queue.
Yeah.
But fatherhood's this incredible picture of Jesus coming to this earth, laying down his life, laying down his greatness, laying down everything so that we could succeed, even going to hell and back,
Yeah.
so that we could experience like relationship, connection, communion with God. And I think that that's a model, that's a really perfect model for us in fatherhood. And I mean, you've experienced fatherhood too,
Mhm.
so much. And it's everything from the most radical joy that you'll ever feel
Mhm.
in your life
Yep.
to the greatest pain that I've ever experienced
Yep.
in fatherhood and everything in between. I mean, when I went through my divorce, fatherhood was very scary.
Mm.
How do I protect my kids from all this pain that I just introduced them to? I don't know how. I don't know. Like, there's so many points inside of fatherhood that even to this day, like, I don't know how. I don't know. I don't have the game plan. I'm not sure what to do. And I'm sure that you've had those experiences before
I have,
with
but I
your
do have a
kids.
follow-up question for you,
Yeah.
brother. And I
No, go for it.
don't think I've ever asked you this or we've talked about it, but when you were going through your divorce, because I often will think about this,
Yeah.
like, did the thoughts like, one day, maybe soon, there could be another man with my wife and or another man like
Yeah.
raising my kids, like, was that something you had to think through and deal with?
Every day from day one.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, on the flip side,
Yeah.
so there's two sides to this.
Yeah.
There's only certain things that I could give my kids. And so this idea that um, I'm going to be the greatest place of love and belief for my kids I think is totally true. Like that's what I'm gunning for. The idea that they're going to always need me at they're not. So there's things that I go to my dad for and things that I go to Bill for and things that I go to Danny for and things that I go to other men. But the difference in my divorce was my kids were so young.
Yeah.
And I had this piece that was, does somebody love, is somebody a better lover than I am? So that was going on.
Mm.
And then is somebody going to be a better father than I am to them was like, I mean, it was massive. I honestly remember processing that. I remember sitting down and just asking that question.
Mm.
Is somebody going to love my kids better than I do? Is somebody going to love her better than I do? I had to go through, and we've talked about it on here before, like the 5 steps for processing pain that I learned in that season, but I really did have to go through and process through that because the guy that my wife left me for was coming every single week to pick up my kids with her.
Oh my
So
gosh.
there was no time out or break.
No.
It was simply, I'm going to see him every day, and I either explode on him, right?
For sure.
Or I get those questions answered that are causing the pain.
So did it make you more resilient, stronger, more settled in your identity than you were before, ultimately?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I think we'd all be lying if we didn't say like the areas in your life that you fail as a dad,
Mm.
you always feel very vulnerable in because I was a good dad. I wasn't a perfect dad. And so I think that I reconciled inside of myself that I'm not a perfect dad. I'm not the best
Mm.
dad in the world, although that's my goal. That's what I strive to do. That I have this unsolvable pain inside of my kids that I don't actually know how to fix. I'm not in control of fixing it. I'm in control of showing up for them.
Right.
I'm in control of connecting with them, but it's inside of them. So they have to now unpack it and unlock it. And I can model it, but I can't force it. And so there was always this piece inside of me of like, I think if I'm honest, of seeing the areas that I've failed as a dad, or just maybe not. Fail is a big word on some level, and had to, I think, reconcile, like, Lord, those are places that I need you to come in and help and fill and love. I don't know. I imagine you've had the similar experiences.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, with every single one of my sons, I think, I don't know if you've experienced this, but when with my eldest son, I really thought I had all these idealistic,
Yeah.
romantic notions about how awesome I was
Yeah.
or was going to be, how perfect everything was going to be. And as they go on and they start making choices for themselves, and this is not just about my eldest, but about all of them, you are, well, I think in a healthy version of this, you get humbled by.
Hmm.
You're either going to get more pissed or you're going to get more
Yeah,
humbled.
it's true.
You're either going to get more cynical and more
So true.
disappointed in yourself and life and people
Yeah.
and maybe even in your children, God forbid, or you're going to get more humble and kind of go. So I feel like I turned 52 this December. I feel like there's fewer things that I know,
Hmm.
but I feel like I know those things now
Yeah.
deeply because they've been tested and I
Yeah.
know that they work. And there's a lot of things that I thought were objectively true that now I call it strawberry and chocolate. Like, it's just preference, bro. Like,
Yeah.
that thing that I thought was absolute truth, that's just strawberry and chocolate. Like, you think it works that way. I think it's not about everything. Of course, not theology, not all those things. There's like a handful of core truths. Your children will make decisions. You will fail them. You can try to be one of the greatest resources in their life, but I've become a fan as of late of like leveraging the men around me.
100%. Yeah.
So my wife's brother has become a mentor.
That's great.
My best friend is now mentoring because he's in the same industry that my son wants to study. They're now having a phone conversation
the
and
best.
like, tech, bro. And I feel like, oh, I've inherited now brothers and they've been my brothers, but now they're lending their beautiful strengths that I could never, and it doesn't threaten me. I'm like, oh man, I'm so grateful that he gets to, because I don't know math the way that you know math.
It's real.
So I've been humbled and, but completely, for sure.
It's interesting, and we can move off this in a minute,
Yeah.
but what's an interesting statistic is they say it's somewhere around like 67%
Yeah.
of all married couples experience a negative when they first have a kid.
Huh, sure.
The demand of your time, the loss in the morning of what you used to have as a couple, right? Like, I knew my wife before I had kids, and then I know her after we have kids, and it's a different experience.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just such a reshaping of the relationship and of your time and of your life, and a refocusing for every man on, okay, these are now my goals.
Yep.
I never saw this before, but now it is. And so, man, it is life altering.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Nah. No.
Even though there's been, all right, I got a question for you.
Do it.
What's the, we were joking about this one before. What's the best way to prepare for fatherhood?
Gosh, man. Maybe a hammer to the finger. No. Okay. So
yeah. What are some basics? Like, what are the ones that, like, hey, these top 2-3 things?
my biggest mistakes in fatherhood, I think have come from, the areas of my life, the past areas of my life, maybe that I didn't work through or heal. And just being a counselor for a long time, I think that those are the areas, like any place that you don't heal, you'll either project it into your future or you'll avoid it and your kids will have to solve it.
Yep.
Right. And so if you struggle
It'll
with,
become their therapy session.
yeah. Yeah. And that's such a reality that you can't even fathom how much of a reality that is. For instance, my inability to manage my anger becomes my son's pain. And that becomes his inability to manage his anger probably as well. And because my ability to regulate my emotions, my ability to do real vulnerable conversations and connect become his language. So what we don't always realize and recognize is that our internal voice is probably our parents' voice. That's really how we talk to ourselves. It's how we see ourselves, unless you've done a bunch of work.
Yep.
Like God created us to build a blueprint for our kids inside of themselves. We're the ones that wire them. And so I really do. I mean, maybe not to get like super specific, but I think if my mindset's going to become my kid's mindset, is that good? Do I like that? Is it going to be helpful and healthy? If it's not, what area of my life do I need to adjust, change, focus? in order to really gift them something that's helpful to them.
Yep.
Because it's one thing to have to work on it yourself. I'll say there's things that I've seen that I've passed on to my kids that I wish I'd have dealt with myself because I have 100% control. That's scary now that I didn't, because I don't have control over that.
Right.
It's like, I better do the discipline when my kids are really young, because when they hit those teenage years, the discipline's so much harder.
It's too late, bro.
So if I didn't build that connection when they're really young, it's so hard. So I always kind of think of it like that.
Yep. I like, so dealing with wounds, 100%.
Yeah.
Or he'll just replicate them and vomit them out or scatter that seed. The other thing I was thinking about, man, is guys' tendency to want to fix.
Yeah.
Man, it's such a powerful God-given design element that works in so many different places. But like my wife would joke with me, she's like, "Hey, Mr. Producer, I don't need you to direct me."
Yeah. Are you sure, babe? Because I'm really good at it.
Cut on this conversation.
Yeah,
I want to go at this again. So like, if you envision that we all men have like a tool belt.
Yeah.
That they come home from work with. I like to think like, it's time for me to take that off.
Yeah.
My wife often, even if I'm 100% convinced that she could benefit from my fix-it ability.
Yeah, for sure. I just got to try it one more time.
It doesn't work. But the other word that comes up for me is, and I'd love to hear you share on this, is just learning to listen and stay curious with the people you love, which for me, for some reason, is like the other side of the fix-it coin. Because if I'm trying to fix it, I probably think I have it figured out and I know exactly what you need. And that's often where I get it wrong with my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
I assume I actually have all the information. So learning to listen was something that actually took me a while to figure out. What are your thoughts on men learning to listen as they come into?
I think for a lot of guys, it's really painful. Okay. And for me in the very beginning, it was
painful.
Yeah.
To listen. Okay. Yeah. Tell me about that.
I do. Several reasons.
Yeah.
One, in order to listen, I think you have to be okay with not getting your ideas into the conversation. The other piece about listening is probably a lot of what she wants to talk about is things that aren't going well.
And maybe even about
100%. Yeah. About the marriage, right? About things that need to be fixed or not working, or her day. And I think as men, we love to produce something. That's why we love to fix. Yeah. So if I can fix this, now I can go off to the next thing that I can knock off my list, you know, and I feel really capable and competent and like I'm achieving something if I fix this thing. So I do think that there is a bit of pain inside of stopping and listening and just being present, because it doesn't feel productive.
Wow.
It just feels like I'm listening to a bunch of things that I can't fix. I'm not going to use in the future. Where is this going?
Do you feel like a sense of helplessness comes up for men?
A ton. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know for me a lot. If I had the wrong mindset, then I'm like, well, are you sure you don't want me to, you know? But here's what I've changed my mindset to.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, for a while now, is this is how I'm adding value to my wife. This is how I'm showing that like this actually is the solution. Right here. My ability to show up for her, because a woman's greatest needs, her three greatest needs, are to feel safe, seen, and known. So if my wife, if you think about it like this, any area in which your wife doesn't feel safe, seen, and known in conjunction to you, she's not showing up fully. So she'll say, I was on a marriage counseling appointment the other day, and I'm helping this couple work through a lot of pain, years of pain. They're getting better. And the guy said something out loud, which I thought was really profound. He said, her relationship with her girlfriends is totally different than us. Like, she's really soft and she's fun and she's loving. And I said, yeah, because when you walk through the door, she doesn't know which version of you she's going to get.
Oh, wow.
So she doesn't feel safe, seen, and known. So a woman who doesn't feel safe, seen, and known is automatically, I'm going to use like a buzzword, in her masculine. She's self-protecting.
Yeah.
She is in fight mode. She's in protection mode. She's in shutdown mode.
Which is the opposite of what a man wants his girl to be. Yeah.
Every man wants to walk into a house full of fondness.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good word.
We do. I want to walk in and the candles are lit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want my wife to show up in our house. I walk in, the candles are lit. Everything's kind of in order. I want to hug. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I want to hug.
Yep.
I want her to, a woman's mode is, it's paced out. And I'm talking in generalities. Sure. It's not that my wife can't grind or do things like that. She could hustle. She
no,
could
your
do all
wife's
that.
a boss. She's a boss. Yeah.
But that's not that's not where a woman wants to live.
Huh.
A woman is built for nurture.
Yep.
She's built to incubate. She's built to bring a sense of not necessarily peace, although she does, but I really think like this flow, like a woman brings the flow to everything that we do. She declutters our house.
Yeah.
And runs the world like that. So when my wife feels safe, seen, and known, because I spend time listening, because I really pay attention to her, because I understand her, because I'm not afraid of her, although I do have fear when she's talking to me, it allows her to be creative. So that would be a massive thing that women are. They bring tons of creativity and vibrancy to the relationship.
Yep.
So I think when we're back to the question, like, what was the original question? Because I had a thought. Oh, what's the best way to prepare for fatherhood?
Yeah, we went into marriage a bit, but no, I think this applies to kids too.
Well, it does, because the strongest thing, the best gift that you can give to your kids is a healthy marriage.
100%.
And we don't think about that a lot.
No,
we don't talk about that a lot.
Right.
We say, I'm going to be the best dad. I'm going to teach them how to play all these things.
Yep.
I'm going to teach them how to do all these skills, which is great.
Yeah, but the only reason you're a dad is because you have a wife.
Yeah. And the best predictor of a great mom is a great husband. And the best predictor of healthy kids is a great present mom and dad. So to me, like, if you want to have kids, get really freaking good at marriage.
Yep.
Give them that gift.
Yep.
Don't quit on your marriage. Don't give up. The pain points are there because you have to fix them. Yeah. Be really diligent with that. And you'll be set up for parenthood, because parenthood's so freaking hard.
It's hard. There's no manual. Every time you think you figured out with one, the next one is different. Totally. You know what I'm saying? Also too, man, one big thing that I got out of what you said was that, because I don't know that men can ever fully set aside the need to fix, but the connections I'm making, at least in my head, that are helpful to me, is what I can do is I can point that need of fixing, which is really kind of trying to solve, by providing my wife with everything you've said. Oh, yeah. Like, the best way for me to quote unquote may not be fix it, but to fix the situation is to, what are the three things that she is?
Her three greatest needs: safe, seen, and known.
Safe, seen, and known. So if I can help create that kind of environment, then I've fixed this moment, so to speak. Maybe that's a place
for men. Every man wants to hit a target. It's why we love games. It's why we love sports, right?
Yep.
We were built. It's built into us to want to hit targets.
Yep.
The primitive man's throwing spears. He's using slingshots. He's throwing rocks. That's how we're defending ourselves. It's how we're getting food, all that stuff. And so for me, like, this is a massive target for every man. Does my wife feel safe, seen, and known? How good am I at hitting that target?
Yep.
Guys, if you want to be a badass husband, how you are on the golf course, how you are in basketball, how you are in football, hockey, your sports world, how you freak out about the stats and all that stuff, do that for your wife. And your marriage will be impeccable.
So good, man. And I always try to have thoughts that are simple and like one syllable words: safe, seen, known. Like, I can remember that in an emergency.
100%. Yeah, for reals. A great question that somebody asked was, how do you heal from a broken relationship? Have you been through a bad relationship before?
Yeah. A funny, quick story. I went to go visit a girlfriend from high school once I had started college. This was like pre-cell phone days, man. Yeah. So I hop in a car in Pittsburgh and I'm driving up to this university. I was about to say where, but I'm not going to. And it was a long drive with like three dudes who had no concept of time. I missed the last train. I sleep at the train station. I show up and I'm thinking in the back of my 17, 18-year-old head that I'm going to come back and we're going to like rekindle.
You took a train? Your bros dropped you off?
Well, yeah, at a train station, and then I had to take a train station, missed it, sat at a diner all night, no sleep. I show up at this place.
And you think she's going to be pumped.
Oh, and she's just going to be so excited to see me.
Guys, I love this, dude, because this is me too.
It's the worst plan ever. But in my head, it's a movie, man. It's a movie, and I'm going to walk through the door, and we're both going to cry, hug, and maybe some better things are going to happen. Yeah. And It was the exact opposite. She's like, I've got finals. I'm going to go study, but you can crash in my place. I saw her for like 2 meals, then hop back up on the train.
She was not interested in
She
you.
was not interested at all. And then this is where it gets worse. So I come to class, acting class, with all of this tremendous amount of pain. And I have to do an exercise where I'm supposed to get to an emotional state. Now,
Bro, it was right there.
so listen, I had a cigar box with pictures of her. And this is what I had planned pre this catastrophic visit.
Freaking gosh.
So with no planning, I get up and the acting teacher's like, all right, David, go ahead. It was supposed to be 2 minutes long. I opened the box. I look at the first picture and I started like ugly crying convulsively for 5 minutes straight in front of all my peers. It got so bad. She said, listen, why don't you go into the hallway? And then I proceeded to cry for like 3 hours straight.
That is amazing.
That's definitely not the way to do it, is to process it in front of your classmates.
Did she give you an A for that class?
No, she told me, she actually walked out. She's like, hey, you got to be careful with this kind of work. And I said, you think? So anyway, all right, here's what I would say. I recently heard of this cool protocol, as Huberman talks about, which is kind of cool. And I did this recently with something that was really painful in my past from my career or whatever. And he described this really cool thing where you actually take 15 minutes and with a pencil pen, manually write it, not type, in a journal. You write the story of a painful thing that you've gone through. Now, you can either do 4 days back to back of this 15-minute protocol where you don't stop, or you can do it once a week for 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They did brain studies on the parts of your brain that like register trauma.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that by telling yourself the story 4 times in a row, it actually reorganizes where the trauma was held. Because apparently when trauma happens, I don't know much about this, but when it happens, it kind of just gets put on whatever shelf, which is why it comes up when you open a cigar box or whatever picture.
It's true.
But by telling yourself the story, it reorganizes it, bro. And it took the heat off of it for me. So like, both catastrophe and like maybe a healthier version. But how about you, bro? What tools do you have to process?
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Because so much of the mourning process, I was listening to Huberman on a
mourning as in like sad grief mourning. Yeah.
So much of the mourning process is this feeling that it's like this idea that I'm unable to quite grab the thing that I want so badly. Like we've all been in the middle of sports or hiking somewhere where you're so thirsty, but you don't have water right there. And it's this painful experience.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what processing pain is, right? It's like my ex-wife is gone. She's not gone from the city. She's gone from here. I have all these memories that I have to do something with. And they are in my everyday life.
Yeah, everywhere you go.
Everywhere I go. From the bedroom to downstairs to the car I'm driving, everywhere she's in there. Well, until I create different expectations and a different story.
Yep.
I'm just reliving over and over again the fact that I want something that's not here. So that's a lot of, I think, what Huberman would talk about in part of reframing and retelling these stories over and over again. So I like it. I think that's perfect. Essentially, like I had 5 steps for processing pain, which would be very, very similar.
Wow.
I think the difference, like my thought, this is what I used working through my divorce, which was to journal. So you get out your journal and you start telling the story of that one memory, that one moment, whatever it was. We often think that, like, for instance, if I had a memory about my wife, our wedding day for the first time, that's a really painful memory the first time you have it after divorce, because you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I really am divorced. But the pain that's driving this isn't actually that my wife's not here right now. It's the underlying things that, I'll give you the example. So I remember processing my wedding day for the very first time. And what I heard myself saying as I processed through was, who's going to love me and what do I do with my vows? I couldn't have told you before that that was the actual pain of that memory. But as I processed through it, I realized, oh, this is actually what's driving the pain from this memory.
What I love about that too, man, is that they were two questions
Yeah.
that were unanswered for you, or maybe you had an answer, but that answer got stripped. And
Yeah.
now they're lingering, like there are these doubts, and doubts are questions.
What you'll find in pain is that it's almost always a question that's unanswered.
So if you can actually figure out what that, oh, wow, man,
Exactly.
I've never thought of pain in that way.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you get all the way down to it, now I've got this question. Who's going to love me? Am I even lovable? Like, who's going to want a guy with 3 kids who couldn't save his marriage? That was my perspective of it.
Sure.
And what do I do with my vows? Because I
Mm.
promised a woman and God something that I can't actually keep. I'm back to like, I have these questions that I don't know how to answer. I can reorient my story
Mhm.
and accept that my life's different. But if I never get those questions answered, then I still have this underlying pain. And this is what I love about having God in our lives when we're processed. Because I think a lot of people who don't have God in their life, they can reorient their story and we can accept that
Mhm.
I'm in this thing. But God has this ability to make things all new, right? So he can give me something that she can't give me.
Mhm.
He can give me a promise. He can help be wisdom and comfort and
Mhm.
guidance in a way that a person without God doesn't get.
Yep.
So God, that's my process is I just added the God piece in there and asked the questions that were driving the pain. So my whole
Mhm.
process is guys need to get down to what is actually driving the pain. You get there by processing and seeing what are the questions that you actually have.
Mhm.
What's the underlying question driving this thing? And, for a kid who was abused by his father his whole life, what's the question? It's not just the pain of being hit or the pain of being talked to is, why couldn't you love me?
Yeah.
Right? I didn't have
What
it.
did I do to
Am I not lovable?
right.
How did I fail you? I mean, it's the underlying question that a man's left with. I don't have what it takes. It's those questions that were sewn into you your whole entire childhood that leave you busted, broken. Now, I'm sure there's scenarios in which there aren't questions, but for the most part, the average person is walking around with a ton of questions that they don't know how to solve. And getting to those, bringing them to God, because most people say, I just bring my pain to God, but they have no idea what that means. They're
Yeah, because what is
praying.
the pain made up of?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they feel a lot of pain. And before you process, if you have a lot of pain, and you pray about it, you're praying about the pain that you're in, which is like, I'm not going to tell people how to pray or how not to pray, but you're bringing something to God. But because you're not actually asking him very specific questions, because you don't know, you're just like, I'm in so much pain. My wife's leaving me. What am I going to do about my life? It's so broad that it's like, it's not specific enough. So we have, as Christians, we love theory. I nail it to the cross. What the hell does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what it means to bring something to the
Yeah.
cross. When you start going through a really specific process of I've processed the pain anyways, and get down to, oh, this is really the question I have for God. Now I can bring that to him, get my question answered, and then go through a forgiveness process.
What brings up for me is, what he says, what the Lord says, come reason with me. It's this
Mm,
picture of, I love this picture of the Father being willing to sit and listen and have a
yeah,
conversation with you. And, my sons, when they may pretend that they're not asking me questions and
yeah,
they want,
yeah,
they need answers, but that's often while they'll
yeah,
call me, they'll present and they'll flex
yeah,
muscles and show me trophies, but I can always suss out a question. And then it's my job to kind of pretend like I'm not actually,
yeah,
and stealthing that. The other thing that comes up for me real quick, and I want to hit one more with you, man, is
yeah,
questions. And I do this with my students when I teach story, but questions create a vacuum. So when I ask a question, it creates a space. Now, if I'm not aware of that question, or if I don't know God, then a little bit of that principle, when he talked about like
yeah,
driving out demons, like if you don't fill it, it will be filled with something because
yes.
nature hates vacuums. It'll
Yeah,
be
it's
filled
true.
by air, good stuff, bad stuff.
Yep.
But I love this idea that underneath pain is a question. Man, that's so helpful to me. I can get up in the morning and if I'm feeling something that's unclear for me, let me just try to get to what question do I not? That's a super helpful tool. Man, in our remaining moments, I want to hit one more, and I think this is a good one. We're kind of on this topic, but good closer. Why does avoiding pain make it worse?
Yeah. I just think it's like that infection, of when you have an infection inside of you, it it rarely does it just stay in one spot. As it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and eventually you wake up and you don't love your life. So we've all had pain in our life. That's the beautiful
Mhm.
thing about pain is pain's not necessarily good or bad. It's an indicator.
Yeah.
If you don't have any pain, then you walk on hot coals and you burn
Yeah.
your feet,
Yeah.
you immobilize yourself. And so the problem with numbing pain is that I become this version of myself that is um un uh, I guess unreachable,
Yeah.
really,
Mhm.
right? So all the unconnectable.
Yeah.
So when we avoid our pain or when we don't fix our pain, eventually you have to medicate pain somehow
Mhm.
because pain has a voice that says, fix me now. Do whatever you have to take to fix me. And
Mhm.
for you, you jumped in a car and you drove with your buddies and you got on a train and you're trying to like fix this thing inside of you.
Yeah.
Right. And this unprocessed pain turns into whatever trauma, turns into my alcohol addiction, my
Addiction.
eating
Yeah.
addiction,
Mhm.
the way I treat my wife, my kids, and it begins to run my life and my story for me. So we really are at the mercy of the pain that we don't process.
You're at the mercy of it. That's super powerful. I know for me, man, we went through a valley moment not too long ago, and you were super helpful to my family in that moment. And I read this, I saw this documentary with Jonah Hill and his therapist called Stutz. I think it's
Oh
on
yeah,
Prime
that's cool.
or something like that. Anyway, he's this cool Jewish doctor that Jonah Hill got hooked up with. Jonah Hill, you'd know him from like Moneyball and a bunch of stuff. He was
Okay,
like,
yeah,
this is how he would self-describe. So this is why I'm going to use this
yeah, I
phrase,
like
but
it.
he would self-describe as like, the funny fat kid that was in Hollywood and
Yeah,
did all these films. Really brilliant, smart, sensitive dude, like really cool. Anyway, in this documentary, it's kind of like a therapy session with this guy.
yeah,
But it takes this turn that I won't give away, which was really, really beautiful. And you see this really tender relationship between essentially a kind of father figure
mhm.
and a son. But Stutz's whole approach to his clients is actually about dealing with pain. And I didn't realize, like, man, sometimes I'm like a caveman where I just need 3 words like seen, safe, known. I need to know that. And this was the thing that came up for me that I finally had to deal with, that how I deal with pain will determine almost everything around me.
It's true.
And so for me, it was everything from Netflix to alcohol to,
Yeah,
whatever, you name it. And it's like, so then I actually started doing the opposite. Jordan Peterson stuff. We all
yeah,
heard about the cold plunging and
yeah.
the Wim Hof breath hold. By the way, bro, I hit 5 minutes the other day.
No
I
way.
hit 5 freaking. It was a goal of mine.
Holy smokes.
In the early days, I actually would pass out and then come back and apparently have cried. And then I
What?
would come back up
You've
and
held your breath till you pass out?
apparently, I only know this after the fact. But anyway, so a couple of things that came out of sitting in cold water, and you
Yeah,
find for different
yeah,
guys, it's different things. Could be marathoning, could be
yeah.
working out, could be whatever. Holding breath, sitting in cold water. The 2 things that had topped my brain was, and this is the phrase that Stutz talked about, is like, you're not going to die.
Mhm.
When you're holding your breath, everything in your brain is like, you're going to die. You're going to
Yeah,
die. When you're sitting in cold water, you're
yeah,
like, this is horrible.
yeah.
I'm going to die. And teaching my brain that I'm not going to die, that I can sit in this cold water for 3 minutes, I can hold my breath for whatever, allow me to step by step start dealing with whatever was happening in my life incrementally. And I didn't realize that our relationship with pain is that powerful.
Yeah. I think the guy that's willing to face his pain is the most powerful man in the room,
Oh,
ultimately.
wow.
I mean, it's why we don't fix our marriages, right? Ultimately.
Mm.
It's like, "Oh, I don't want the pain of having to do it, the pain of failing, the pain of the most disciplined man in the room, the guy that can decide his life from when he wakes up to when he goes to bed. That guy that's willing to sacrifice, that's ultimately the guy that we all want to be.
Yep.
It's Jesus,
The man of suffering,
man of
pain.
suffering. The guy that's ultimately going, today's pleasure doesn't dictate any of my decisions.
Wow.
All of my decisions are made out of conviction, purpose, fulfillment, obedience. It's a powerful thing.
Which all cost all of those things that you listed, they're all different names for things, but they all cost you something.
Yep.
And depending where you're at on it, for some discipline or obedience, they're easy, but for some it's hard, which means
Absolutely.
that if it's hard, it costs you. And if it costs you, it means there's probably some element of pain.
Everywhere. I mean, we don't think about it a lot, but just not eating something that you want to eat is pain. It really is. Anxiety is pain. It's a low level pain.
Yeah. When my wife rolls over and doesn't have sex with me, it's painful.
Pain. It's pain. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, like we face pain all day long, and the opposite of facing pain all day long is I indulge all day long. Right. It's the masturbation that leads to, a marriage that it isn't great. It's the pornography that leads to erectile dysfunction and social anxiety and a broken marriage. It's
pleasure without sacrifice.
Yep.
And Huberman talks a lot about that pain, hedonism, pain, pleasure thing, and how jacked up you can get.
Yeah. But Jesus is the ultimate model. He's the ultimate guy that is going, not my will.
Oh,
it's not what I want. I'm not here on my agenda. I am every single day. I am in communion with God, sacrificing what I want for what he wants, what I want for what he's calling me to do, what I want for his vision. It's not, we weren't following Jesus's vision. He was following what God had him do. And that's a freaking tough thing. So yeah, I really do, man. The guy that can work through, because you'll get to a point in your life, like when I look at my life, I think, well, being a Christian, I'm not tempted to not be a Christian anymore. Yeah. I'm not tempted to not smoke cigarettes or drugs or that's not an area of my life that's temptation there where there's temptation anymore. Yeah. Drinking, getting drunk, anything like that. Yeah. It's not a temptation anymore. I haven't looked at porn since I was 16 years old was the last time, and there will be temptation like every normal man, but I'm not wow, I'm trying to keep myself from binging. Yeah. But there's other things for me that are painful, that are keeping me from, again, my calling isn't your calling.
Yep.
So I don't think that we ever get out of this place of sacrificing our way all the way into his calling. So when we talk about processing pain, most people are thinking about it on this level of a breakup, or including myself, a breakup or things like that.
Yeah, like an event.
Yeah. But our ability to, James would say it like this. James 1 says, consider it pure joy or hilarious laughter whenever you encounter various trials, right? Consider it pure joy or hilarious laughter when you encounter a trial, when you find yourself in a trial. For the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And when perseverance runs its course, you will lack nothing. So that's a very paraphrased version of James 1. How do you face pain every single day? You come at it with the mindset, according to James, of joy, of laughter, of Philippians 4 says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Let your gentleness and kindness be evident to all. The Lord's here. So he's basically saying rejoice in the Lord because he's right next to you. Be kind to people. Let your gentleness and kindness be evident to all. The Lord is near. And then it goes on to say, if you need anything, feel free to ask God, who gives freely. But then it says this, it says, and the God of peace, which surpasses all your understanding, will guard your heart and mind. Okay. So we get to make this incredible exchange. This is a recipe. This would be like a prescription to break out of anxiety, to break out of depression, to get rid of pain in your life. One way is that Philippians 4 and that Proverbs, where he's talking about rejoice in the Lord always over here. And then he goes over here in James, he's saying, so it's Philippians and it's James. James is saying, consider it hilarious laughter, consider it joy. So we have this mindset that we should approach pain with. And that is, this is leading me to a place where I don't lack anything.
Wow.
It's the ultimate win.
Wow.
This right here, whatever it is, whatever pain in your life, if you decide, man, you're doing the Wim Hof stuff and you're doing the ice bath stuff because what? Because you want to add value to your life.
Yeah.
And James works for that.
Yep.
If I go into there going, I'm going to suffer for 3 minutes, you don't. You go in there looking at, it was Jesus endured the cross for the joy set before him. So anyways, I just really think that was a major part of me walking through the pain of my divorce. I got to a place where I looked forward to processing the pain because I started to feel what it was doing in me.
Right. You could see where it was headed.
I was becoming unstoppable.
You got to have vision. Without vision, people perish.
Yeah.
If you have vision, even maybe for your pain and the processing of your
100%.
pain,
Yep.
That's good, brother. Well, listen, man, this is such a good. It was so good hanging with you. And I love these Ask Jay episodes, these social media questions. So, I mean, I think people should just keep them coming.
Yeah, they're great. BraveCo men, hopefully you got a bunch out of this. If there's something in here that really hit you, share it with a friend. Yeah, we would love to continue to spread the word about BraveCo, our podcast, what we're doing. We also have a conference coming up June 11th through the 13th and our gala. Lots of cool stuff. But guys, stay brave out there. We will see. Hey, BraveCo men, hopefully you loved this week's episode. Listen, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, you are already behind. Go ahead and click right here to subscribe to our podcast. And if you have not watched last week's episode, you can click right here and watch last week's episode. And listen, if you want to upgrade your wardrobe, you can check out some of our new hats that we have in stock and all our other swag. Go to braveco.org and you can look at our store there. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.